There are temples in India that should not exist, not because they are ruins, but because when you stand before them, your mind refuses to accept what your eyes are showing it. 10 temples, 6 states, 1,000 years, and number 1 is the most extraordinary thing that human hands have ever made in stone. Stay till the end. We begin in a valley in the Aravalli hills of Rajasthan, and what you are seeing is not a hallucination. It is real. Every pillar is real, all 1,444 of them. The Ranakpur Jain temple was built in the 15th century by a wealthy merchant named Dharma Shah after he received a divine vision of a celestial vehicle in a dream. He built the temple to match what he saw, and the result is one of the most visually overwhelming structures in all of India. 1,444 marble pillars support the temple complex, each one individually carved, each one completely unique. No 2 pillars in the entire temple are the same. The artisans who carved them spent over 50 years on this single project, and they arranged the pillars with such extraordinary precision that from any point in the temple, you can see the main deity. Every angle is intentional, every view is sacred, and there is one pillar left intentionally incomplete. The legend says it broke during construction and was never repaired as a symbol of humility, because only the divine is perfect. The temple sits deep in forest between Udaipur and Jodhpur. Arrive in the morning. The light filtering through 80 carved marble domes creates something that no photograph has ever fully captured. Some things you simply have to be inside. We travel south to Karnataka and to something completely different, something older, something carved not from marble but from blood-red sandstone, and not on flat ground but directly into the face of a cliff. Badami, the ancient capital of the Chalukya dynasty, which ruled much of what is now Karnataka from the 6th to the 8th century, and carved into the red sandstone cliffs above a sacred lake. 4 cave temples that represent some of the earliest and finest examples of Indian rock-cut architecture ever created. These caves predate Angkor Wat by 600 years. They predate the great temples of Thanjavur by 400 years. And the sculpted figures inside them, Vishnu in his cosmic sleep, Shiva in his many forms, the great Trivikrama taking 3 strides across the universe, are carved with a sophistication that makes them look less like ancient work and more like the output of a civilization at the absolute height of its powers. The view from the cave entrances across the sacred Agastya Lake to the opposing red sandstone cliffs is one of the great natural and architectural compositions in all of India. Climb all 4 caves. The view from the top is extraordinary. And if you have time, combine Badami with Patadakal and Aihole nearby. 3 ancient temple sites in one day. One of the most underrated journeys in India. Almost nobody does it. Their loss is your discovery. From the red cliffs of Badami, we travel to the edge of the Indian Ocean, to a temple that has been standing in the spray of the Bay of Bengal for 1,300 years. The shore temple at Mahabalipuram in Tamil Nadu, built in the 8th century during the reign of the Pallava king Narasimhavarman II, one of the oldest structural stone temples in South India, and it stands at the very edge of the sea, close enough that at high tide, the waves wash around its base. For 13 centuries, the shore temple has faced the ocean. Monsoons, cyclones, tsunamis, all of it has hit this stone, worn it, shaped it. The carvings that cover its surface have been softened by centuries of salt air into something that looks less like deliberate stonework and more like something the sea itself has sculpted. And in 2004, when the Indian Ocean tsunami struck this coastline, the receding waters temporarily revealed ancient temple structures beneath the sea, evidence that Mahabalipuram once extended much further into the ocean. The shore temple we see today is what remains above water. It is a monument to both human ambition and the patient, relentless power of the sea. Arrive before dawn. Watch the sunrise directly behind the temple from the beach. The light on 1,300-year-old stone with the Bay of Bengal behind it is one of the great travel photographs available anywhere in India. and it costs nothing but an early alarm. And from the edge of the sea, we move to a landscape that looks less like India and more like a painting from another world. Hampi, a UNESCO World Heritage Site in Karnataka that was once the capital of the Vijayanagara Empire, one of the greatest and wealthiest empires in Indian history. At its peak, in the 15th and 16th centuries, Hampi was one of the largest cities on earth. Contemporary Portuguese and Persian travelers described it as larger than Rome. Its markets sold silks, jewels, horses, and spices on a scale that astonished the entire medieval world. Then, in 1565, it was sacked, and in a matter of months, one of the world's greatest cities was reduced to the extraordinary ruin you see today. But here is what makes Hampi different from every other ruin in the world. The Virupaksha temple at the heart of Hampi has been in continuous worship since the 7th century. It never stopped. Even as the empire fell, even as the city emptied, priests continued to perform daily rituals in this temple. They still do today. A 7th century temple, still alive, still breathing, surrounded by the ruins of one of history's greatest empires. And the landscape itself, ancient boulders the size of houses, balanced on each other as if placed by giants, framing temple towers that emerge from the rock like they grew there. At golden hour, when the light turns the stone the color of burning copper, Hampi becomes one of the most overwhelming visual experiences that India offers. Rent a bicycle, stay at least 2 days, watch the sunrise from Matanga Hill above the ruins, and understand, slowly, completely, that you are standing inside the memory of one of the greatest civilizations that ever existed. From the grandeur of Hampi, we arrive at something more intimate, more intricate, and arguably more extraordinary per square meter than anything else in India. The Hoysalaswara Temple at Halebidu in Karnataka, built in the 12th century by the Hoysala Empire, and covered every surface, every wall, every pillar, every single inch of the exterior in continuous bands of sculpture that wrap around the entire temple like a stone encyclopedia of Hindu mythology. Scholars have estimated that the outer walls of Hoysalaswara contain over 20,000 individual sculptures. 20,000, running in horizontal bands from the base to the top. Elephants, horses, scrolling vines, geese, scenes from the epics, forms of Vishnu, forms of Shiva, celestial dancers, demons, heroes, each carved with individual personality and extraordinary skill. The temple sits on a star-shaped platform, a design unique to the Hoysala Empire that creates constantly shifting shadow patterns across the carved surfaces as the sun moves through the day. The temple was designed to be experienced across an entire day. Different sculptures emerge from shadow. Different scenes become visible. It is a building that changes as you watch it. And almost nobody comes here. Halebidu sits 30 kilometers from Hassan in Karnataka. No Instagram crowds, no luxury hotels, just one of the most extraordinary temples in all of Asia, sitting quietly in a small town, waiting to be seen. Combine it with Belur, just 16 kilometers away. The Chenakasava temple there is the twin masterpiece of Hoysala architecture. 2 temples, 1 day, one of the great journeys in Karnataka that almost nobody has taken. From Karnataka, we travel north to the heart of Madhya Pradesh, to a temple group that was lost to the jungle for centuries, and when it was rediscovered in the 19th century, it shocked the world. Khajuraho, built between 950 and 1050 CE by the Chandela dynasty. This group of temples contains some of the most extraordinary sculptural programs in the history of world art. And the Kandarya Mahadeva, the largest and most complete of the Khajuraho temples, is their supreme achievement. The temple rises 30 meters into the sky in a series of increasingly tall towers that culminate in the central Shikara, a mountain of stone designed to replicate Mount Meru, the home of the gods, and covering every exterior surface. In continuous bands from base to top, sculptures of extraordinary beauty and complexity. Yes, some of those sculptures are erotic, and they are extraordinary works of art. but they represent only 10% of the total sculptural program. The remaining 90% depicts gods, goddesses, celestial musicians, warriors, animals, and scenes from mythology that together constitute one of the most complete visual encyclopedias of ancient Hindu thought ever created in stone. Khajuraho was not built for shock. It was built as a complete cosmological statement. Heaven and earth, desire and devotion, the human and the divine, all contained within a single extraordinary structure. Hire a guide. Without context, you see beautiful sculptures. With context, you see an entire philosophical system carved in stone. The difference is profound. From the philosophical complexity of Khajuraho, we travel east to Odisha and to a temple that is unlike anything else on earth. The Sun Temple at Konark, built in 1250 CE by King Narasimha I as a monument to Surya, the sun god of Hindu cosmology, and conceived not as a building in the conventional sense, but as a colossal stone chariot. The entire temple is designed as the chariot of the sun. 12 pairs of intricately carved stone wheels, each standing 3 meters tall, run along the base. 7 stone horses pull the chariot toward the east. The main sanctuary tower, originally 229 feet tall, was the body of the chariot itself. But here is what stops every architect who visits Konark completely. The stone wheels are not decorative. They are calendars. Each wheel has 8 major spokes and 8 minor spokes representing the 3-hour divisions of the Hindu day. The shadow cast by the spokes tells the time with extraordinary precision. This temple is a working astronomical instrument made entirely of stone, built in 1250 CE. European sailors who navigated the Bay of Bengal for centuries called it the Black Pagoda, using it as a navigational landmark from the sea. A temple so large, so striking, so impossible, that it served as a lighthouse for ships crossing the Indian Ocean. Visit the archaeological museum next to the temple. Watch the shadow move across the sundial wheel in real time. And understand, this was not a building. This was a statement about the relationship between human beings, time, and the sun, carved in stone 1,000 years ago, still keeping time today. From the stone chariot of Konark, we travel south to Tamil Nadu and to a temple built by a king who looked at the sky and decided that the home of the god he worshipped should reach it. The Brihadisvara temple of Thanjavur, built between 1003 and 1010 CE by Raja Chola I, the greatest king of the Chola Empire, dedicated to Shiva, who appeared to the king in a dream and showed him this exact temple. When it was completed in 1010 CE, the Brihadisvara temple was one of the tallest buildings in the world. Its tower rises 216 feet into the Tamil Nadu sky. At the very top, a single granite capstone weighing 80 tons. A single stone, 80 tons, placed at the top of a 216-foot tower over 1,000 years ago. How? The leading theory is that the builders constructed a ramp, 6 kilometers long, and used elephants and human labor to drag the capstone to the top. A 6-kilometer ramp, built specifically to place a single stone. The commitment is almost impossible to comprehend. And then there is one more thing. The Tower of Brihadisvara casts no shadow at noon on any day of the year. The builders achieved perfect solar alignment, so precisely that the vertical shadow of the tower falls directly at its own base. Invisible, at the moment of highest sun, in 1010 CE, without any modern instruments, go early morning for the rituals. The priests perform the same ceremonies that have been conducted in this temple for over 1,000 years. The same prayers, the same offerings, the same devotion, in the same temple for 1,000 years without interruption. I have saved Kailasa for last, because everything else we have seen, every marble pillar, every stone wheel, every 216-foot tower, has been preparation for understanding what you are about to see. Kailasa Temple, Cave 16 of the Ellora Caves in Maharashtra, the largest monolithic structure on Earth. A complete 3-story temple complex. Courtyards, towers, pillared halls, elephant sculptures, bridges, shrines, carved from a single basalt cliff, not built from stone, carved out of a mountain that was already there. Think about what that means. A conventional temple is built upward, stone by stone, layer by layer. Kailasa was built downward. The architects began at the top of the cliff. They removed stone downward and outward, revealing the temple inside the mountain the way a sculptor reveals a figure inside a block of marble. Except the block of marble was a mountain, and the figure inside it was a temple larger than the Parthenon. They removed between 200,000 and 400,000 tons of rock in the 8th century, using only hammers and chisels, and they could never go back. Every cut was permanent. If they made an error, a miscalculation in the spacing of a pillar, a crack in a wall, there was no way to correct it. The entire structure had to be visualized completely before a single chisel stroke was made. Commissioned by Rashtrakuta King Krishna I between 756 and 773 CE, the temple is dedicated to Shiva and modeled on Mount Kailash, the Himalayan home of the god himself. The king wanted to bring Mount Kailash to his people, so he built one from a mountain by removing everything that was not Kailash. The sculptures that cover its surfaces, Shiva performing the cosmic dance, Ravana attempting to lift Mount Kailash, the great Nandi bull facing the sanctuary, are not decorative additions. They are integral to the rock itself. They were always inside the mountain. The sculptors simply revealed them. Historians and engineers who have studied Kailasa have reached the same conclusion repeatedly. It should not have been possible. The engineering precision required to remove hundreds of thousands of tons of rock while leaving a structurally sound, architecturally coherent, 3-story temple complex behind is beyond what most modern construction teams would attempt with modern equipment. And yet it exists, right there, carved from a mountain in the 8th century by people whose names we will never know. Arrive at opening time. Walk the full perimeter first at ground level to understand the scale, then descend into the lower courtyards, then climb to the upper levels. The experience changes completely with every change in perspective, and at some point, standing somewhere inside a temple that was carved from the inside of a mountain over 1,000 years ago, you will stop completely, and you will understand. This is not just a temple. This is proof of what human beings become when they believe in something completely. 10 temples, 6 states, more than 1,000 years, from 1,444 pillars where no two are alike, to a temple carved from the inside of a mountain. India does not just have temples. India is temples, and these temples are waiting for you, not as tourist attractions, but as experiences that will change how you understand what human beings are capable of. Go with time, go with attention. India will take care of the rest, and I will see you in the next one.